Today I'm going to show you how to work a classic fringe in just a few easy steps. You can create a great finish for your scarf or whatever project you'd like. So for our fringe, we're going to need a crochet hook, some nice sharp scissors, the yarn in whatever color you'd like your fringe to be, and I'm going to use a piece of cardboard to wrap my yarn around. Now you can use a book, whatever you have on hand. You just want it to be the length of, a little bit longer than the length of the fringe you would like. So I'm going to take my yarn and I'm just going to wrap it around the cardboard, around and around, because we just need to cut some lengths of yarn to work with. When I'm finished, I'm just going to cut through one edge. If I wanted really short fringe, I guess I could cut through both, but I want some nice long pieces of yarn. And we're going to fold these in half as we work. So just know that whatever length you're cutting, that's going to be cut in half when you're working your fringe. So if my lengths of yarn are 20 inches long, my fringe is going to be slightly shorter than 10 inches. So I've got a piece of knitting here, and I'm just going to work a fringe along the edge here. Now, if you're a knitter and you don't crochet, don't be afraid of the crochet hook. We're just using it as a tool here. We're not going to be working crochet stitches. And I'm going to hold 2 strands together. It's really up to you how many strands you want to hold together for your fringe. When I hold 2 strands together, each knotted fringe is going to be double that. So it's going to be 4. If I was holding 3 strands together, I would have 6 strands hanging from each knot. So I like to start in the corners of my project. I'm just going to hold my 2 strands together, fold it in half like this, and then I'm going to insert my hook. I'm starting at my right side edge, it really doesn't matter. With my right side of my work facing, I'm going to insert my hook from the back of the work to the front near the corner. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in a stitch, you just have to be consistent all the way across. You know, if it would be silly to work a fringe up here, but if I was 1 inch up, I would want to be 1 inch up all the way around. 1 inch isn't going to work, so let's just go back to here. You just want to have enough fabric here to work your knot around and for it to be secure. So once I've got my hook in position, I'm going to place the loop of my folded yarn here across the hook, and I'm just going to use the hook to pull it through to the back side. So once I've got that loop through the back side, you can see here, I've got a loop. Then I'm going to take the rest of these strands, all 4 strands, and I'm going to put it around my crochet hook and just use the hook to pull that through the loop I've created. And I'm going to pull them all the way through, and I've created a knot here, and I'm just going to pull that tight. And that's it. I'm just going to work that all the way across. What I like to do when I'm working across is something like a scarf is to do the corners first. So I'm going to get 2 more strands of yarn here. So I've inserted my hook from the back to the front, put my folded loop across my hook and pull it through to the back of the work. Now I've got a loop on the back of the work. I'm going to put all 4 strands across my hook and just pull those 4 strands through the loop and pull it tight. So you're just creating a knot. The hook is just aiding you to get through the work and to manipulate the yarn. So it's really up to you how many knots of fringe you'd like across your piece. Like I said, I like to start in the corners just to sort of get a gauge of how many I want in between. I'm going to work this, say, about 1/2 inch apart, because you need the space for the knots. If you put it too close together, it'll buckle a little bit. You need this space. They have to be at least this space across. And if you don't like the spacing, it's very easy to remove. You can just pull up on that knot and take it right out and try again if you don't like your spacing. So that's it. I'm just going to show you on a piece of crochet fabric. It works exactly the same way. Now, if you're at the edge of your piece, you can work right into a stitch if you'd like, or at the edge of a piece. Doesn't matter. It's just anywhere that you can insert your hook. I'm going to fold my strands in half. Pull my yarn through, and then pull the ends through that loop. And that's it. So there's one more thing you need to do before finishing your fringe. And this is I've got all my knots across here. You're going to want to trim your fringe so that it's not raggedy at the edge here. You have a nice clean edge. And so one thing I like to do is comb it out with my fingers, and I like to lie this at the edge of a table. So let's say the edge of my table is here. I would lay the part that I want to cut off the edge of the table, and then you can place your arm or a book or a piece of cardboard. And if this was hanging off the table, then I would just run along there with my scissors and cut it off. And that makes a nice, neat edge. But before you do that, you might want to consider steaming your fringe. You can see that my yarn is a little wiggly here because it's been rolled up in a ball for so long. It's not really lying nicely flat. So I like to steam my fringe before I cut it. Now you want to be careful when you're using steam with your knitting or your crocheting. Depending on the fiber, you could singe your yarn. So you really don't want to get too close to the strands of yarn. You just want to get an iron. I've got my iron all ready to go on a very hot steam setting, and you need an iron that shoots bursts of steam. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just going to hold my iron a few inches above my yarn, shoot it with some steam, and then comb it out with my fingers. Now, I certainly don't recommend doing this on your dining room table. Do this on an ironing board or a suitable surface. And you can see all I'm doing is working out the kinks in the yarn. And most yarn fibers will react to steam quite well. Just be careful again that you don't touch the iron to the yarn, and don't even get too close. And now you can see my fringe is lying a lot flatter. So I'm not working off the edge of my table, but I'm just going to trim that. It's actually easier to trim when you steam too because it's lying a little flatter. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. And there we have a nice classic fringe.